Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh my God, you're killing me. Oh, my paws and whiskers. I'm so grateful to you for this honor, which has got to be just one of the nicest things anybody's ever done for me. A big shout out to my many friends who've come to be on hand tonight. My colleagues from Colby and Barnard, my cousin MJ, my friends Rick and Kenny, and of course my family at GLAD with 2 A's, or as we say in the movement, GLAAD, or if you prefer, Dutch GLAD. Oh, I'm so glad you got that joke. I was so stressed out about that. Because the 2 A's, you know. It is a particular honor to receive this award from GLAD with 1 A, which since 1978 has been committed to full equality under the law for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people and people living with HIV/AIDS. I may be your honoree tonight, but you're the ones who have helped bring honor and dignity to my life through the work that you do. It was GLAD in particular that pushed back against the legislation in my home state of Maine in 2007 that would have removed transgender people from the category of individuals protected under Maine's Human Rights Act. Thanks to the work of Jennifer, Levi, and all of you at GLAD, the Maine legislature, after some consideration, decided that, as it turns out, people like me were human after all. Oh my God, what a relief. Given that I'm the co-chair of the board of directors of GLAD with 2 A's and that I'm receiving this amazing honor from GLAD with 1 A, there have been no shortage of opportunities this last week to make light of the fact that our 2 LGBT nonprofits are often mistaken for one another, which in some ways is frustrating, I know. 1 A GLAD's legal work is a very different route to full equality than 2 A GLAD's focus on accelerating acceptance through the media. And yet we are, each in our different ways, involved in the same work, trying to bring about a world in which all of us are free to live the lives we love, a world in which our stories are told with dignity and accuracy, and in which we all enjoy equal protection under the law. There are a lot of ways to try to make this dream a reality, and I'm grateful, in fact, to all of the organizations, all of the nonprofits engaged in this work. But GLAD with 1 A and GLAD with 2 A's find each other particularly linked, and not least because we are so often mistaken for each other. We are, if you'll forgive the phrase, nonprofit doppelgangers. The LGBT version of twins separated at birth. Sometimes this is a little awkward, like last year when one of my potential donors happily told me that he'd sent off a huge check to support AA GLAD, and then said, you know, funny thing, I never knew you were all headquartered in Boston. Yeah, funny thing. You guys owe me for that one. But most of the time, I don't mind GLAAD being mistaken for GLAD in the same way that I don't mind being mistaken now and again for a celebrity who is much more attractive than I am. I don't know if you've ever had a doppelganger or someone whom everyone thinks is you, but I have, and I can tell you the experience is very different depending on whether the person everyone thinks you look like is someone you actually admire. Or the opposite. When AA GLAD had a board meeting in London 2 weeks ago, there was one night I had to give a speech, and someone in the audience later said to me, "Oh, I was so excited when you first walked out, I thought you were Meryl Streep." Yeah, and I got home that night and looked in the mirror and thought, well, hello, Meryl. On the other hand, my mother always used to say, you know who you look like now, Jenny? Ann Coulter. She used that, in fact, as a kind of last-ditch attempt to get me to cut my hair. "I don't mind you being a woman," she used to say, "but I do mind you being a hippie." Her theory was if she told me I looked like Ann Coulter, that would goad me into getting a perky little hairdo. But she was misinformed. I used to say, "Mom, I don't look like Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter looks like me." The topic of doppelgangers, or doubles, if you will, is one with a great tradition in American and English literature. Oh, I'm sorry, I just dozed off for a second. Where was it? Oh, yeah. The topic of doppelgangers, or doubles. Yes, some of my former students are in the room, I can see. The poet Shelley allegedly saw his own double the day before he died. A stranger who looked just like him came up to him while Shelley was in his garden and said, "How much longer do you intend to remain content?" In literature, some of the greatest stories, particularly in the horror genre, are about individuals who swap identities, or alternatively, are about a single individual torn in two. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is probably the most famous version of that particular kind of story, but there are plenty of others, The Portrait of Dorian Gray, or even Frankenstein. In most versions of that story, in any case, things don't work out so well. For transgender people, the story of the doppelganger, or the double, can take on a unique twist. For many of us, the story of our lives is the story of a person trying to let go of one identity and embracing another. It's our hope that this transformation, unlike the Jekyll-Hyde matchup, is one that leads from a false self towards a true one. We sometimes face the additional struggle that we're surrounded by people, including some of the people who love us most in the world, who are, at least initially, seeming to prefer the Mr. Hyde part of ourselves. "Jekyll," they say to us. "Why on earth would you go to all this trouble to become Jekyll when you could be Mr. Hyde? Oh my God, we love Mr. Hyde. Please, don't take away Mr. Hyde and leave us with Jekyll. Who is this Jekyll anyway?" And so on. Afterwards, if we are lucky enough to survive our transitions intact, we're sometimes faced with an additional quandary. What does it mean to be Dr. Jekyll if you've grown up as Hyde? Or more specifically, what does it mean to be an adult woman if you've had what looked to everyone else like a boyhood? But you don't have to be trans to struggle with the dilemma of before and after in life. As years go by, I think it's only natural to look over your shoulder at the person you have been and then into the mirror at the person you've become and ask, well, as David Byrne once put it, "Well, how did I get here?" Or as Andre Gregory poses it in the question in the film, My Dinner with Andre, a baby holds your hand, and then suddenly there's this huge man lifting you off the ground, and then he's gone. Where is that father? Where is that son? Where is that parent? The world is full of people, in fact, who think of themselves as a former this or an ex-that, instead of the people that they are. Former Marines, ex-nuns, ex-husbands, ex-men. In some ways, I am an ex-man, and I can tell you, being an ex-man is sometimes not all that different from being one of the ex-men, except that you don't have any of the cool superpowers. Actually, I do have a superpower. It's super gender. Oh, sorry, well, table 40, I didn't mean to aim it at you. You're okay. It can be very hard to live a life that is defined only by what you have been, rather than what you have become, or who you are. And this is, again, not the particular struggle of the transgender man or woman, it's everybody. So, how do we make peace with all of these selves? How do we end up living one life instead of two? In my case, the answer came from the telling of story. You look at your life as one continuous narrative rather than as before and after. It's story that connects us to our past. It's story that helps us, quite literally, understand the narrative of our own lives. I've written my books for lots of reasons, and not least because writing can be just about the most enjoyable way that I know of passing the time. But ultimately, most storytellers that I know are engaged in the craft because they're trying to make sense of their lives, to join the before with the after, to join the Jekyll with the Hyde, to join our glad with our glad. I went through a lot of rituals on my way to womanhood, from hormones to electrolysis and a trip to the large-size shoe store. But nothing, truly nothing, taught me as much about being a woman as telling the story. So it's this that I wish for all of you tonight and through all the days of your lives. I hope that over the course of a long life, you will find the words to tell your story in all of its joyful, scary, contradictory wonder. It's a great gift. It's one that has saved my life and the lives of many other people that I know, and I'm so grateful for it, just as I'm grateful for my wonderful wife, Deirdre. 27 years of marriage this year, 12 as husband and wife, 15 as wife and wife. Woohoo! I'm grateful for my sons, Zach and Sean, for my cousin MJ, for my friends Kenny and Rick, and all of my lifelong friends from Colby College. Yeah, Colby College. And for my friends from Barnard and at GLAAD, and for the amazing gift of this strange and wonderful life, just as I'm grateful to all of you at GLAAD for the Spirit of Justice Award, and for which I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks, everybody.